Hi, this is Damien from AtHope, and I'm an axiological atheist. We're going to start the meeting.
And it will be separate chocolate.
What's it?
In a second.
Separate chicken.
Hi, Damien.
Hi.
Thank you for you.
I think by now they know me.
I'd like to have a
Right.
special, Chinese.
Well, you're one of the good ones. Well, I would say, a better word.
Yeah.
You're one of the people that I like. How's that?
Thank you.
I don't know if everyone will consider you good, but
You're going to tell us about your book with it?
One of the things that you were mentioning the Goldbergs meetup last night. That one just started out. I mean, as you know, we've been meeting for years.
No, it's now open to everyone. Yeah.
Well, that we've been meeting loosely as just an informal group. We recently moved to meetup to formalize.
I know that, yeah.
oh yeah, I need to join that. I wanted to go to that.
Except now we got a whole bunch of people asking us why can't we have it in other locations?
Where's it at?
I'll have my usual-
Goldberg's Deli in Victoria.
Where's that at? I have no idea.
Goldberg's Delicatessen.
No, I don't mean Goldberg. Where's Victoria?
Yes,
Where's
Oh, in Bellevue. It's Bellevue, just south by 90. Just south
Oh,
by
that doesn't
90
help
of
me
Bellevue.
either.
Yeah.
Bellevue a little bit helps me.
But it's South Bellevue, just south by 90, kind of near Newport.
Green olives?
Before you get to.
Oh, you just have
I don't know where Newport is.
Just south,
I only
just
been here
south of
6 months.
Bellevue.
I just moved up from
Oh, no, I thought you
California.
no, Green
Where in
olives.
California?
Southern California,
No,
Irvine?
not
Irvine.
Orange County.
And for you?
It's like about 30
Did you
miles.
order?
You ordered.
I already ordered the pizza.
What kind? Would you like the large Romeos?
You don't remember? Yes, I wanted
Large Romeos?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll have the small whole wheat Hawaiian. Or what do you call it? Samosa?
Samos.
Yeah, samosa.
I lived 2 years in, I was 4 years in San Diego and 4 years in Stanford, so I had 8 years in California.
Yeah, I lived about a year in San Diego. I like San Diego. San Diego's kind of like, to me, LA light. It's like LA with more hippies.
Yeah. But it has a little bit. But Southern California and Northern California are almost like different states.
Yeah, Orange County sucks. Orange
Nothing
County,
to do
well,
with each other, yeah.
everyone's watching. I don't think Orange County sucks. It's just that to me, it's a lot of Republicans and conservatives and a lot of religious people.
Did you say Orange County?
Orange County. And since I, happen to be an atheist and, liberal and progressive and anarchist, I really can't stand most of the thinking of Orange County.
But you would find niches just like you in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Like San Francisco.
Yeah, well, and I would find it in LA, and I would probably find it in San Diego. And I'm not saying there's not some places. Like I used to go to, I used to drive 50 miles to go to Riverside to hang out with friends that were like me. Even though there was like about 8, meetups in Orange County, because most of those people are Republican atheists, and they're.
That's almost
I didn't know there were Republican
Isn't it
atheists.
an oxymoron?
Well,
I know that.
I mean, are they officially Republican atheists?
no, or officially. I don't know. They don't put a label on themselves, but I wouldn't say,
But I mean, should they call themselves Republicans?
Oh yes, absolutely. They're Republicans.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
marker down there.
And well, either that or there's 3 things that they usually are in Orange County. They're either they're an Republican
You're way down
atheist.
this hill, or-
Pen?
They call themselves like a moderate, which basically they're just trying to say that they're still conservative, but don't want to be blamed for any of the religious stuff. That's how I take it. They're basically Republican. They just want to somehow devoid themselves from the religious stuff. They're still Republicans. But if you talk to them, basically everything they believe, it would be. They just call themselves moderates, but I don't really consider, when they start talking, you're like, yeah, I don't think so.
Atheists who hate Hillary Clinton become Republicans.
Well, I think that a lot of them, it's about money and stuff, and about not. They want it. Some of it has to. I don't want to go into all that, but the race and there's a whole bunch of stuff that. And some of them actually, I've in fact talked to more than one who didn't support gay rights, and they're atheists, which also to me is.
So what is the
bizarre.
non-religious opposition to gay rights? If you're not religious, what would be your opposition to gay rights?
The thing is, you're asking me, does it make sense? It doesn't make
No,
any
not-
sense
no,
to
no,
me.
it just
So
won't
I
be.
don't.
No, I'm not
You're asking,
asking
what did he say?
I'm not asking you to defend it. I'm just asking what would there be? What would there?
Well, what did
yeah.
he tell me?
What would there-
He
what
said
would
it's
be there, yeah.
disgusting,
Uh-huh.
and it's not normal.
Okay.
Things that I would say are
Yeah.
not true.
Fascinating.
Human sexuality is normal, so.
But, yeah, it really isn't any different than,
Animals do it.
well, no, but the if you're, what, over 50?
Well, he
And you were
was
brought up-
older. I would agree with that. He was
Well, yeah,
You
like
know,
if somebody
it's just,
told-
it doesn't matter, I mean, it's like, even if you're an atheist, it's still, I mean, I don't think there's really a difference between the socialization. Most people over 50 weren't raised as
Oh, I see your point.
atheists.
I see your point. So
First off.
They were socialized
you know,
to think of homosexuality as disgusting, even
It's,
if they
it's an
were.
irrational
Right.
belief.
I see your point.
You know,
Yeah, I see your
but yeah, if you're over
It's like
50.
racism.
Well,
Racism is taught.
Taught.
It's not.
Well, then I would agree.
we're
That's
not
what I was going to say. Is the other one? There's several things I think that why there were some of them. I mean, they wouldn't call themselves racist. Well, I mean, I might call them racist, but
Yeah.
but some of them that consider themselves conservatives or they consider themselves libertarians, which to me is a right libertarian, for what I would call, because I consider myself a left libertarian, which is totally progressive, totally left-leaning, nothing to do with them. It's like Democrats and Republicans, totally opposite. Everything they like, I practically hate. Everything I like, they hate. Man, it's like totally. But anyways, they a lot of them are that don't want. They're really. It's kind of like nationalism. They don't want our country, having illegal aliens, or they want more Europeans. Kind of like what
Kinda
Donald
like
Trump said.
Nazis?
Well, kind of like Trump said. Why aren't more Europeans immigrating? Why don't we allow that?
Because they got better countries than ours?
I was gonna say they have better lives over there.
Well, to me,
Their
By
satisfaction
rights,
levels
we are the illegal aliens. Native
Yeah.
Americans were here first.
The cure
So
for
it
the
makes
cure for
no
illegal
sense
immigration
to
is
me.
already happening.
Yeah.
As America goes downhill, we're all going to be trying to get into Mexico.
well, no, I'm just making. You're asking why do they choose to be conservative?
Yeah.
I'm just saying they have these views. They happen to be non-believing God, but they're usually
Yeah.
anti-immigration.
Fantastic, yeah.
They're usually against the poor. A lot of them in Orange County are rich, so they see themselves as like the upper class, and they don't like anyone lower.
But
They're
there's
mooching and.
there's plenty of people who are socially, well, this isn't what you're talking about, but who are socially liberal, but financially and government
no.
conservative.
Yeah, I'm a little bit that way. I see what you mean.
I am too,
see myself a
actually.
little bit that way.
Yeah,
too.
to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, and there would be some probably that would call themselves that in Orange County, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, compared to here, it's way more
Yeah.
Republican and
Well, I mean,
conservative.
I could even sometimes, describe myself as socially liberal, but physically conservative, but I would never imagine, for example,
But see,
curtailing Social Security, for example.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. What does
Of
that
doing
mean? I know
what?
when people say that, what does that mean? To me,
Oh.
I mean,
I didn't hear.
I have no desire to see Social Security cut
How about
back.
welfare?
I don't
Oh.
want to see it increase. Well,
Would you want to see it means tested for wealth? So
Well,
should
you
Bill
know,
Gates
I-
get Social Security, or would you want to see it means tested?
I don't think he would bother taking the time to sign
I-
up.
Yeah.
I-
Right?
I
What
used
would
to
you do?
think that until I
Yeah.
read just one article on the
Tell me.
subject
Tell me.
was convincing. Once you start means testing, where does it end?
Yeah.
Then,
Well, that's a good point.
pretty soon, a person making $14,000 a year is going to be mean tested.
Right.
And that's definitely what the Republicans want. They want, I knew someone who was making only $14,000, and they still had to pay $6,000 a year in taxes because they were independent contractor.
I've
So
got
they
a
had to
friend
pay-
in that situation.
And that was
Wow.
the payroll tax.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not income tax, but payroll tax.
I
So
got you.
Payroll tax and all the other taxes. So even though they were only making $14,000, they were still paying $6,000 in taxes.
Something wrong with that.
Yeah, only
I
netting
hear two
8,000.
separate things. I mean, there's one paying into Social Security, and I thought you were saying means testing for benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I
Those are
think
two
that
different,
they need to raise the cap. That's the first thing they should
They
do.
do, because we qualify for DSHS now, and last year we qualified for it. But come February 28th, they cut us off arbitrarily, didn't let us know.
Why?
Well, there went all of our medical benefits and everything.
Two things,
Which
an
is-
inheritance and a contractor
Department
job
of
at Hope.
Social
Ah.
Services, the
But
state.
it was still, it put us 110 over their cap.
Your income
And their
level.
cap is based on your gross, not your net.
Yeah.
That's why it's interesting that you asked the question, where does means testing end?
Means testing should be net, because we have to pay taxes, and it's not taken out that way.
if they have mean tax, or means, oh, you're talking about a different type of means tax.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the way that they calculate for welfare and
Yeah.
DSHS and
Oh,
all of that.
I agree. Well, just like when I was a truck driver, I mean, I had to buy all my meals, I had to pay for hotels, I had to pay for gas, I had to pay for truck maintenance. I mean, if you look at my gross, it looks like I made way more, you know. I made like 250,000, but I took home like, probably about 125.
Well, by the time we got done,
And can't you deduct, aren't those business expenses?
Well,
then?
she was
Yeah.
saying that if your means tested on
I
your
see.
gross, I'd have been.
Oh, they only look at gross. I see.
Well, I'm saying that's a
I see.
big difference. I had all these things. I was paying 1,000 something
Yeah, but their
a week
net
for
is-
my truck rent.
yeah,
Income
they're not
tax, you can
talking
deduct all
about,
that.
yeah, they're talking gross before anything.
I'm just saying.
The only thing they would deduct for was anything school related.
But if they looked
Right.
at net, if they looked at net income, not gross, should the person who's earning 500,000 a year get the same social security benefit as the person earning, say, 50,000
If
a
they
year?
have so much going out that it knocks them down that far,
I see
so
your
that they are living the way that we live, wondering how we're gonna live from paycheck to paycheck, yes.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So the
But
question
then you have
is-
to get into all kinds of judgments about
Right,
what are they
right.
spending their money on.
Right.
It's,
So
The
uh,
whole tax system needs to
guys
be
see what
changed,
Kansas
that's
is
what they need to do.
But how?
yeah.
Have you read recently what Kansas has?
No.
They're signing into law a bill that says if you're receiving any type of government assistance, you can't go to a movie, you can't go to a
Oh,
water
yes, I heard
park,
about that.
can't
I
go to a
haven't
theme
heard
park.
that.
That's so stupid.
I don't
Yeah.
agree with that at all.
They
But
don't
what if somebody gave you a
track
free,
us
what
for
if somebody
that.
paid for you? What if somebody paid for you? What if somebody gave you a free ticket? How do they know you were paying for it?
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's-
are we,
yeah.
That too, yeah.
How did
Well,
you went
I-
to
I-
a theater?
It's interference in
Well,
people's private lives.
On the other hand, would you want welfare money spent in a liquor store? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I would not care. I'm for libertarian socialism.
Yeah.
So to me, I want socialism, but with libertarian,
But I mean,
liberties.
if you find out that
Well,
someone
you
got welfare because they have children,
So, I
but they
mean-
spent most of their money in a liquor store,
That's a problem. But
Yeah.
what do you do about
That
it?
is
yeah,
a
what do you do about
problem.
it? Yeah.
I've
But
got
that's
a
a different
friend who's on
problem.
welfare. She's
But
got
you know,
three
they
kids.
check your
Can they
bank
spend the
account
money in
too,
the
so
liquor
they
store?
can track.
I don't know, can they?
Big brother.
But you could say the same thing for food. You could
Yeah.
say the same thing
Yeah.
for you saying movies. You can say the same thing for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think that,
that was
Yes.
in general, I think that we should not be getting involved in how people live their lives.
Yeah.
Food stamps you can't spend on liquor.
Period. I mean, whatever they want to do to all drugs.
How people-
Well, I mean,
yeah.
that's what they want to do to die. I mean,
Well-
I don't think there's any obligation for us to do things to live.
There was a bill in California, I think it was defeated, but a bill in California that said if you're on welfare, if you're on food stamps, you cannot spend it on unhealthy junk foods. You have to spend it on healthy foods. I think
Actually, now they've changed all that, you can
Yeah.
even buy gum
Yeah.
now and candy on.
so. Like if you want to buy
Wow.
only
which
potato
is a good
chips,
thing,
you know,
'cause I'm a
with your
diabetic.
food
What
stamps.
about
you go-
Coke?
Yeah.
Yes,
Now I don't think you can buy
No
cigarettes.
alcohol,
You can't buy
no
cigarettes or alcohol with food
cigarettes,
stamps.
it's a good thing you're reporting it
but
to Bernie.
anything that's food, you
Yeah.
can do. In fact, Papa Murphy's is listed as being something that you can buy on them because you take it home and bake it.
Better than potato chips.
Yeah.
But the question is.
But if you want to buy like all really unhealthy foods, there's no restriction on. Like,
No.
To me, there shouldn't be. I mean,
Yeah.
people have the right to live their life. Period. You help them how they want to live their life, not how you choose to live their life for them. To me, I mean,
I agree that going down that path is not gonna be
Right,
beneficial.
right.
But I work in an elementary school and I hope that I don't sound particularly classist
No.
the way I'm saying this, but I'm all for not having the kids feel shamed.
Right.
I'm all for providing them extra food if they need it, and clothes, and all of that. I guess I should say I work in a high poverty
Right.
elementary school. And I don't know whether it's like human nature, but, they don't keep track of their clothes. You should see our lost and found.
Right.
There's something about, if it's yours, if you earned it, if you paid for it, I mean, the same is
It's
true.
pride and ownership.
And it's true. It's true almost for all of us. Like, it's a good example. But if we're at work, okay, if we notice that the sink is dripping and we're wasting water,
Oh,
I'm not paying
actually
for it.
complain.
I mean, I'm sure
most
that
people don't.
I'm sure that we could find an example
Most
that
people
you
don't,
would.
yeah.
That's not it, but there probably is one. So how do we?
No, we take care of things that we pay for.
Cool.
We do,
But-
that's your
right.
point. That's your
Yeah.
point.
But I think that for
So
me,
how do we? And I'm not saying take away what we're giving them, but how do we induce the
Change that
See,
mindset.
change that mindset?
So to me, I have a psychology degree, and to me, everything is usually psychology and influence. So the reason why kids don't take care of their things could have to do with the way they're psychologically being brought up. Not just how they're being treated at school, but how they're treating at home.
course.
How the internal and the systemic things that they could be, you don't know, they could be having sexual abuse, having physical abuse. I was sexually, physically, I was abandoned. I mean,
pretty confident
I was
that
raised
most
in
of their lives
poor.
are pretty horrible.
I went without food. I mean, I was all the things that you say, and I didn't have a care for myself. So I would say that when a child is doing that, they're exhibiting
I know.
non-care behavior. And I would say that we really need to have mental health.
Mm-hmm.
For the family.
Over the family, we
Yeah.
should have, well, first off, to me, you don't have to talk about school. I believe personally, but then again, I lean very heavily towards the left. No kid should go hungry. You know how I solve that? Forget food stamps. We can do that too. But to me, at school, a kid should get breakfast, lunch, and a snack for dinner that they can take with a sandwich and chips and an apple or some kind of fruit, period. Every kid has that, not they have to, but everyone has that available. Every kid for free.
And
Well,
some places
I-
have
I-
it.
But if the mother's
I would pay-
collecting welfare and not feeding her kids, is that not neglect? Is that?
Well, what I know, but what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
what we can manage first. The first man I care about is not the parent. I care about the child. No child in America should go hungry for any reason. And guess what? We have all control over that. Because when they come to school, we have control over that. You didn't eat breakfast, you can have it if you want. You didn't have a lunch, you can have it if you want. You're not going to have dinner? Guess what? We'll provide that. Period. To me,
Well,
Provide it all at school.
At the school
I think
that I work at, we do
counseling-
provide breakfast and lunch and a weekly bag of non-perishables.
But I'm saying, so if kids are not hungry, their psychology is already going to be. I used to go to school and steal lunches until they found out the reason I wasn't getting food. I didn't have food. So I wasn't picking on kids because I wanted to be a bully. I was starving.
I don't think
so-
that's,
So, and I think that we should have group counseling at schools. I think we should have individual counseling at schools. I think that our future is these children.
Well, if
And-
you have a family that isn't providing breakfast, lunch, or dinner to their kids on school days, what about on summers and weekends?
well,
there's
there's,
programs.
Well,
there are
I think there
Not
personally should be
enough.
year-round
Yeah.
school. I don't agree with summer school. I think there should be year-round school.
but there are programs through the Parks Department and the city and federal for summer. At least lunch, I'm not sure. I think breakfast too. I think that we had several summer school programs at the school I work at last year, and there was breakfast provided, and I don't know that there was much
But then what's happening
limitation.
to the money that the parents getting for food stamps, if they are getting food
Oh,
stamps?
they're not getting enough money in food stamps
But-
to feed their
They're not,
families.
True, they're not getting enough, and then
They're not
like
getting
you said, how are they using it? Well, we can't control that.
Well, also
Except
just-
we
Teachers
can't
are not
teach them.
really,
We
paid
could
for
teach
taking
them.
care- paid for
I agree.
educating
They could
kids.
have classes in school for
Not
that
for-
type of
Yes.
thing.
I know.
Much like we had
Yeah.
sex
Feeding
ed, why not have
I know.
one for
Absolutely.
daily living?
Yeah.
But I don't.
Which I
think-
never
And
got.
it,
But
and
I
it
think
I
speaks
never
to
got
all
because I
kids
don't
from
think
all
you
different
can
types of
say
families.
that the
You're
problem
required to go.
with
Now they have a
poverty in this
program where you're
country
required
is
to take
that
the
we're
deal for
trying to
babies, where you have the
isolate all
doll
of the
that you
different
have to, that is a
Yes.
requirement. in
Well,
the other
it
schools.
probably
And
cuts
financial
down on some
management, too.
Yeah.
pregnancies.
You can't just.
There was
you can't
interesting-
There just needs to be more education.
low academic achievement in just the schools. You have to address it in the family.
Yeah,
They
I
have
agree
to,
with
they
that.
have to be able, the kids, if you don't know how you're gonna get your next meal, or
If
if you
the
don't know
parents
where
don't
you're gonna
value
live.
education, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Oh, but they do value, it's not that they don't value it. They do value it. But if you don't know how you're gonna pay gas to get to work tomorrow,
Yeah.
if you're, I mean,
Survival
It's
is,
survival.
that's the first thing.
that's the first thing, and I
Education
think
is
you're
up
going
here
down the
somewhere.
wrong path if you're thinking that they don't care.
If I might
I'm
interrupt you
sure
for a
there's
second.
a percentage that doesn't care. of course, I'm not saying everybody cares, but I don't think that's
There's
the,
a brilliant article in the National Geographic magazine from a couple of months ago about hunger in America, talking about a lot of the stuff we talked about.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention real quickly, this, of course, is the exception to the rule, but since we have a small enough group here, it would be nice to have just one
not
person
split
speaking at a
time.
time, so that it just makes it easier for everyone. But oftentimes we have enough people that we end up having multiple conversations, but let's try this time out. This is what Auburn Free Thought does.
Talking.
example.
This is your talking
Sometimes
stick.
they the talking
He's the
stick.
pass the ketchup.
Well, I mean, but we do it informally, but if I may, I'd like to encourage just one person speaking at a time, and just one conversation.
Absolutely.
So Frank was speaking.
Well, but just really briefly, a couple of things. We don't really teach economic. We don't really teach classes on simple economics, and I'm budgeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, like I said, in that the one, there's a couple of stories that were very much like what you were talking about, where you have kids that come out and mom and dad don't have the food today, so it's, listen, kid, you're going to have to go and get your breakfast over at the school, you know, and the kids been out of shape about it, but that's the way it is. The thing is, there's a chart or where you have a Big Mac and how much that costs, and then you have a grocery list of essentially that meal.
Right, burger, yeah.
And of course the Mac costs more. Of course the McDonald's meal costs more. But because we've been taught, you know, this is the way we do it. We have to get our food now. We have to get it fast. Let's go to McDonald's, even though it's going to take up a lot more of our budget than if we went to the grocery store, picked up food, or if we don't even have the money for that, go to the food bank and find something that's not molded out.
There is a larger component
Yes,
to that.
please.
There's Sprite, yeah.
And I'm certain, I'm not even trying to say that it's a majority of the people. I agree with you that there's a huge problem with choices. But some people don't have a way to get to the food bank. Some people don't have, I think the term is a food desert. There's no real grocery stores close to where they live.
You mean in rural areas or
No,
inner city?
oh no, in
Urban.
this,
Inner city.
in-
Urban
yeah, oh yeah, in urban
whatever
areas.
reason.
Cities
So-
everywhere.
Or if it's an
I-
industrial area.
Well, I mean, I think if you have, if the only, well, I mean, if you have to walk, you're not gonna wanna carry, if you have 3 kids under 5 at home with you,
No cars.
no car, no, you know, I mean, there are situations where the grocery store isn't, I mean, I think that we should, I mean, it's not very libertarian, but I think that city planning should have grocery stores within walking distance.
It used to be, we used to have much smaller grocery stores, but many more of them. And now we
Walmart.
got these major mega marts, and that's just the way.
So maybe a home delivery system.
I think another problem is if you got a working mom, and I have a friend who, she spends her money awful, and she's poor, and she complains about it all the time. And I say, you know, you gotta cook a big portion on the weekend, and, you know, freeze it or whatever. But they go out to fast food all the time, and then she complains, you know. But when you work all day, and you got a couple kids, going home and preparing a meal.
But is it, I still don't know, is it cheaper to eat fast food all day or is it more expensive? Is
Oh,
it
of
cheaper to
course
cook
it's-
your own? Cheaper to cook your
Cheaper.
own food?
Of
Cheaper
course,
to cook
yeah,
your own
yeah,
food.
of course it's cheaper.
Over the long run, for an individual meal, it might be just a
I mean,
low.
there's another part of it, you might have to spend $30 at the grocery store, but you only have $5.
I eat, one time, I was fixing my house and I happened to work with homeless people. I could pick them up from Home Depot or something. And literally, these people don't know how to take care of themselves. As an example, when I fixed that house, Carol packed lunch for me, and I like potatoes. And I just boiled the potatoes, and I was eating it. And just put a butter, and I was eating it. And I told them, if you guys really buy a bag of potatoes and put some butter on it, you will never go hungry. And actually, the next week, and the following week, they came back to me that actually that's what they did. And
But they don't know, right? You had
Yeah.
to tell them.
yeah,
they
it's
don't know
just
how to
people
use
don't
the
know how
money.
to take care of themselves. And then how much you go out and buy go to Costco or something, buy a bag of flour, wheat. I don't know how people can eat that much, and it's pretty cheap. And I think people just don't know how to take care of themselves.
Well, there is a component to that. There was a Michael Moore documentary years and years ago.
Yes.
Roger Rabbit, was that
Oh.
it was about
What?
Detroit. It was about the auto industry.
Roger and me?
Yes.
Oh, Roger
Roger
and
and
me.
Yeah, I saw it.
And, you know, they had these people that had had these good union jobs, and then they were laid off, and they hadn't, yeah, I was flabbergasted. I mean, both of my parents grew up during the heart of the Depression, and so.
Mine did too.
Well, actually,
Mine too.
both of my parents were poor before that. But these people that had no idea how to manage what they got, you know, it's like you need to change your lifestyle. Yeah, you can't do the things that you used to do. It is
'Cause they were
mind-boggling.
they were
Because
doing
yeah,
labor jobs for 40, 50,000 a year, and suddenly that doesn't
Oh,
exist
yeah.
anymore. Yeah,
and you know, it's mind-boggling to me.
yeah.
I mean, when people, I hear the class, you know, your friend. I mean, it's exactly like your friend. Everything costs so much. It's like, I need more money. Well, cut your, you know, there's two. You can either increase your income or decrease your expenses. Those are the only two things that you can
Only two
really do.
choices you've had.
They were the only choices.
So here's what the conservative would say, because I've heard this on conservative
Okay.
radio, and I'm not saying there's no good answer to it, but they would say, if there's so much starvation in inner cities, why is there so much obesity? Why is obesity epidemic?
Oh, there's
Oh,
plenty.
Because
Because
they're
we eat the
because
wrong
they're eating
thing.
the wrong
Yeah.
food.
They're not eating nutritious.
You think so?
But to me, we need to be raising the minimum wage. I would raise it to 25. I really could care less. And I think that to me also, if you make under made under 500,000, I don't think that you should even pay anything but Social Security to me. To me, if you don't make enough where you can live without, the thing, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. To me, I think everyone above that should have to pay, and then to me, it should be raised the percentage every 500,000. And to me, there also should be a maximum wage. Why does no one ever talk about this? Who should make more than $1 million a year? I mean,
You know how they get around that.
they're making like 38.
Well, and actually, most
million
people
a
who make
year.
10 million a year are getting a bonus of 9
It's
million.
the-
They're getting a bonus of 9.5 million, and then they're getting
Yeah.
500,000 salary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not to
there
mention,
are
income from.
Hey, what do you guys think about Dan Price?
well, that's what I was just gonna say. Do you guys know about Dan Price?
Yeah, but these corporate executives like Alan Mallory, who used to be a Boeing commercial aircraft president, moved to Ford Motor Company. His salary was $50 million.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
Like I said, to me, it's
and on top of that.
like we can't pay more wages.
Yeah, but
Well,
the-
duh.
You have to listen to this story. He saved the company. And that's the only company out of 3 automakers. GM got bankrupt, and Chrysler got bankrupt. When they go to federal government, then Ford company said, we don't need the money. And at that time, Ford stock gone down to $1. And
Really?
yeah, but these people really made their money. They saved the company.
so my question
And that's
is,
why
I mean,
we're
so
Mustang
he's,
freaks.
I mean, the implication is he's worth it.
Yeah.
Does he think that $50 million is an appropriate salary for him?
I think so, because he was getting paid quite a lot at the Boeing as well. He
Yeah, but I
was
mean, does he-
on
I mean-
multi-million dollars, but
But
these
I
people,
don't really care if they think they're worth it. I don't care if they save the company. The company can go bankrupt. I don't think a company has a right, a duty to be protected. I don't think so.
Here's a question,
No,
would I
they don't.
invent,
And just like I think that
No,
we
they
always act
they
like
shouldn't be protected.
like all these other things can come in. We have control. We can make a trade embargo and not let anything. And first off, to me, we should not be letting any country deal in America that has slaves as their employees. Like in China, where they're jumping out of the buildings, no product from them should be allowed in America. If people are jumping out of the buildings to save themselves, sorry, I don't care. It should not be allowed. Doing that would also have more ethical support. But by doing that, then a company in America could start doing it in America. And also, just like, do you realize that a lot of companies, there's things like 40-something companies that actually use prison labor to make products for cents per dollar. Forget that.
Well, yeah. Let's not go into the
The whole-
prison,
that's a whole other issue.
prison industry.
The whole prison is disgusting.
It
But
is.
it's an industry. It's a money-making,
So what-
for-profit industry.
one of the questions, would I invent the next great thing if I couldn't, if I were Bill Gates, would I start my company if I was told my salary's limited to $500,000 a year, I could never make more than that? Would I start Microsoft? If that was the question.
Of course.
Maybe you're right, yeah.
You know,
Well,
the
the thing
creative
is, you would
juices.
still get wealth from the stock.
What?
You would still have wealth from the stock.
And you would say that's okay, you would allow that?
I'm talking about
Yeah.
income.
Okay.
When you make salaries and
Salary,
stuff,
yeah.
when you make I was saying there shouldn't be anything over $1 million a year. I mean that's not cutting big black. That's an outrageous amount. To me, the point is when you blanketly do that,
Okay.
you make a maximum wage. Then people have a harder time to say they can't pay the lower employees because, like I told you, I say they should be $25 an hour.
Because I know that, I saw a special on TV, Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream did exactly that. They had a policy where the lowest wage in the company and the highest wage, including the president, could not be more than 7 times.
Right.
You know, the lowest person who's on
Right.
the floor and the president of the company, one could not be more than 7 times the other. That didn't include Ben and Jerry themselves making millions on stock. That was fine. But the president of the company couldn't make more than $120,000 a year or whatever.
And I think more and more companies are
Yeah.
actually doing that. Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Right, but so I'm just saying, we act like there's no way to solve all this. There's a lot of ways to solve. We just have to make laws.
The will to do it.
Which
right.
which is one reason why I don't like. There's the other thing besides the Republican and Libertarian in Orange County is also anarcho-capitalists. And anarcho-capitalists want to totally destroy government and make everything capital, where the companies are the government and they do whatever they want. But to me, that's ridiculous. That would ruin our even if nothing else, our environment would be gone. Because if companies do what they want, they would pollute like there's no tomorrow. I mean, just that alone should be a reason to not be okay with companies governing themselves, because they get away with as much as possible now.
Consider what's happening to the Amazon
And a
right
little
now,
box,
while,
please.
with gold mining.
Can I have half
what's
now
happening
and then
to Amazon?
half take it with me?
Yeah.
Because
What is happening to Amazon right now?
There's they found that a great swath of it is being polluted with mercury because gold mining has caught on big time.
Oh, wow.
You've got a situation where you have a heavily impoverished workforce. Well, what could be a workforce, but a
Where is this?
heavily impoverished population and a gold rush. And what they're doing is they're mining it illegally. There are laws in place,
Okay.
but there's such a rush to the air to get the gold out of the ground, because you're talking about a small nugget of gold practically changing the miner's life. And these miners are completely dirt poor. So
What do you do?
recently, the technology was made available to photographically determine what kind of what kind of elements and chemical makeup was in the soil. And after the just acres and acres and acres of the area was deforested, and then they flew over with cameras and they and spectrographically sandwich spectrographically found that much of the soil was rendered absolutely toxic with mercury, and the mercury was going into the fish, and the people living downstream from there had mercury levels that were well above safe levels for toxicity. Yes, people are getting rich, but they're also dying because of mercury poisoning.
I don't know,
Yeah, we gotta have environmental care, period. That affects all of us in long run, totally.
Well, consider the fact that that's basically what we're doing. Is we're just plucking all the trees out of the lungs of the earth.
I agree.
Well, and if I asked how many people here have Comcast, I would probably get a pretty good amount of people that would raise their hands.
What do we have?
It's not that they have bad products, they have expensive products. I worked for them for over 10 years, finally retired, because I was mad at the fact that they spent more money outsourcing to India and the Philippines than
What's
our
that?
people could
Right.
get jobs.
What's
And what I'm hearing now is
meat,
that all phone services are gonna
cheese
go
and,
there. There will be
sauce.
no
It's
Lo-
basically,
loads and
customer
loads of meat.
service here in the
it's
US.
basically a pizza.
That doesn't make me happy,
That looks good.
you know?
It does.
I'm happy that
Those
those
are great,
people
though.
are making money, but not at the loss of our folks making money. And I think a lot of companies are doing that now. And a lot of the people that work for them only make $14 an hour plus commissions, so they're forced to upsell when they don't want to. You know, they're there to help the people get back online, get their TVs back working, get their phones working, but they're told, you have to upsell or you're gonna lose your job. And so many of us either quit, retired, or we're getting fired for that. And that's corporate for you.
Pizza to me, so.
It's easier to send it out to another country where they're gung ho for money, so they didn't learn the customer service end of it first.
Oh yeah, but even like my wife does SAP, like financial software. She said India took it at first, but then India got too expensive. So then they went to, I think it was Singapore, and then Singapore got too expensive. So then they went to the Philippines. So it's just country shopping, you know.
The race to the bottom.
Yeah, who can pay the least, and we can, you know. So it's just pure greed. We don't care about people at all. It's just all about, you know. And if not them, they would go somewhere else. I mean, you know, Afghanistan. I mean, they don't care. They really do not care at all. It's just, what can I make it the cheapest?
Problem is, we stopped them coming in to this country because of you did this and you did that, and then all of a sudden, those Germany guys hired Indian guys, French guys hired Chinese guys, Korean guys hiring and the Malaysian guys. And we are left with a so high price for the same product or lousier products. You cannot compete with them, we go poor. That's exactly what happened during automobile busting period. We lost every market. Toyota is now biggest selling car. Why? Because that time we were making $30 an hour.
But we were
Because
making.
Japanese was making $15 an hour.
But we were making the wrong kind of car
Yeah.
too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one too. I
mean,
agree.
That's absolutely true.
I didn't understand why, I grew up in the 70s and I didn't
The
understand
reason
why
we
they.
made the wrong car was that we didn't put enough money for research. So we'll make the same
Well-
old.
Well, I also think it's American exceptionalism that believes that the bigger car, the more power, the more gas guzzling, the more doors, the more the speed, the shinier thing. Or a lot of the stuff in Japan is smaller, more efficient. I mean, it's
Yeah, but
just,
we are the one buying it. We knew we wanted those products.
Yeah,
but we're not making them.
I think
The
they,
reason
I think
is
they
we
didn't
didn't
change.
follow. We didn't go R&D enough, and those guys were ahead of us. That's why.
Well, they were selling. The big gas guzzling American cars were selling. Why should they change?
And we found a whole bunch of reasons to that question later on.
And then they were behind.
This is full.
Well, actually, the fact that everyone bought Japanese cars changed the auto industry in America and made them competitive.
Well,
Competition
the
made
other
it
thing
competitive.
that happens is that one of the excuses that the big corporations give is, well, we gotta keep our shareholders happy. But a lot of companies are changing that too. And they're writing into not their contract, but their vision, mission, their
Their mission statements?
whatever, that they gotta take human rights and the environment and all that kind of stuff. It has to be equal to profit making. So people who have any investments, I mean, it behooves us to buy into those kind of companies.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't make quite as much, but that's a myth too. You can make just as much with a socially responsible company as you can with, well, maybe not as much as if you had some bad company, but you can make enough money, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
how
Well, it's like
how
Ford.
much money do you have to
Take
make?
Ford, for
Right,
example.
okay.
Ford makes a pretty high-powered Mustang.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I'm a Mustang enthusiast. But
Would you like more Diet
they make
Coke?
them now with the high power
you like
and
more
the
Diet
ability to get
Oh, yes, please.
between
You
28
got it.
and 30 miles to the gallon on the engine size that they have.
Oh, thank you.
They're innovative, which has my interest, but they still don't make all of the parts here. For instance, my 06, the engine comes from Germany, the transmission's from Mexico, it's assembled here.
Uh-huh.
I worked at.
My old school one, my 1968, was built here in Michigan. And you can really tell the difference in the way that they perform. Yes, the 06, even though it's a V6, will outrun my 289 any day of the week. But that's only because they've learned to optimize with the smaller engines. They've learned to do more stuff with them to make them more powerful, but yet they still conserve on gas and emissions. Now my diesel ambulance, that's a different story. That thing's a gas hawk from the word go.
Well, here's a controversy that, just like we could say that the competition improved the American auto industry, led them to make more fuel-efficient cars and better quality cars. We started off talking about schools. Most people here would be, you probably as a public school teacher, probably against charter schools. So should we allow competition? I went to, part of my company sent me to Washington DC about a year ago to look at charter schools in Washington DC, very inner city environment, charter schools where they have tremendous, all the kids wear uniforms, the teachers are hired outside of a union shop, and they prepare, and they have a huge, I think they have almost like 100% graduation rate. Of course, criticism is that they self-select students who are motivated and have families involved, but they have better discipline. Almost everyone graduates high school. They have an expectation you'll go to college. I don't think everyone goes to college, but they have an expectation you're going to go to college. If you go to the lunchroom, they have college banners all over the lunchroom with an expectation you are going to college, even though they don't achieve 100% on that metric, but they do achieve 100% graduation rates. So there are those who say, well, competition would allow would allow public schools to improve their product just like American Auto Industry approved their product, and others would say, no, that would just self-select for those who can't.
Well, I don't think it's a fair environment to begin with because public schools are not equal. In fact, when I was living in Irvine, if you went from one side of that town to the other side of town, the high schools were completely different. University High School had this little tiny, swimming pool, and we had no cheerleaders, right? Then you go over to Irvine High School. They have Olympic pool, with like Gleg Louganis, whatever, Olympic, diving boards, and 20 feet high and all
It's
this.
the tax base, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same town. So I mean, to say public schools to me is throwing a word out there that has absolutely no, inherent, complete substance, because you could go one area and be public schools the most terrible thing in the world. They're better than charter.
Right.
So I don't think that I think we should have, once again, standardization. So we should have a standard income. This thing that one kid, is getting an Olympic pool, and I don't have nothing. That's insane town. It's insane.
Well, but right now, the inner city family who says, I want to go to private school, they can't afford it. It might be a private school in their neighborhood that has better education, a better student-teacher ratio, and they'd say, I can afford it. But if their tax dollars could be applied to the private school.
But I'm saying the people that have the tax dollars in those rich towns should have some of that putting into the inner city anyway. So the inner city school is already better to begin with. It's not a competition. It is a competition now. But it shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. Every school in America should be. I'm not saying that some can be allowed to be even higher, but there should be a standard. It's like, I don't know. Every kid should have a. In our schools today, every kid should have a computer. Every kid should have pencils, paper, just the basic.
Yeah.
Decent books.
Yeah, decent. I mean, just the basic stuff, and then.
Why is America so far behind the rest of the world in math and science and so many other? And if we had like school vouchers. Of course, I would not want religious schools to be allowed to get that voucher. I would want to keep religious schools out. But I might support school vouchers if the religious schools were excluded.
Well,
But that never happens, so it
There's
always
a-
ties to sectarian schools.
There's
If our education is so far behind compared to Japan and Korea
It is.
and the rest of the world,
It is.
how come we are the one coming up with all the technologies,
Well,
like
but-
the biotech and the computers
Well,
you name it.
You're talking about college, though. That's college, not high school.
Yeah. Well, the two
Yeah,
answers.
but
that-
it's all geared into it. It's
Well, some- but even-
not just separated it out.
Right.
This is high school, we are bad.
But you're talking about two colleges. So colleges also don't just have Americans. You know that, right?
Right.
I mean, we do get people from other countries, Korea, whatever, come to America, go to college, then join a biotech company,
but they
and
go back.
get a visa or become a citizen. So we actually, just like, how did we get Einstein? He wasn't an American. We get a lot of stuff. So I'm just saying that it's not. I don't think it's fair to say that somehow America produced these things.
Well,
really, maybe not be American.
A lot of American inventors are foreign. That's what.
Right, so I'm saying,
A lot of
yeah.
inventors are foreign. Number two, a lot of them are in the upper stratosphere where they had the greatest private schools, the greatest colleges. They aren't coming from the majority of American class education systems. I don't think it's true that if you eliminated the top prep schools in America, the top high schools in America, that you would say America really has all the best inventors. But maybe it is. But then the other is that we have a culture of entrepreneurial. We have a culture that encourages innovative thinking, and so that's part of it. That doesn't mean our education system is very good.
but I have to bring in, I will acknowledge that I'm not an expert on this. My background is in high tech, and then I came into the school. But there's a strong feeling that the whole point of all of this No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top is an effort by the conservatives, not the right word, but a group of very powerful, influential people who want to destroy public education.
Interesting.
That's they want to destroy the unions.
Koch brothers, that's what I think.
Well, didn't the Koch brothers say they wanted to eliminate public schools?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, just
Who
eliminate them,
supports
period.
No college left behind. Is it the liberals or conservatives or both?
I want everybody to pay for public.
Oh,
or
okay.
for,
Yeah.
pay for the
Okay.
private.
No, they pay for everything.
That's what she's
I
talking
think that's they don't want no free lunch for anybody on anything. So not every conservative, but I mean, I think the Koch brothers are pretty uniquely far right.
But then you have these programs like this where they just caught all these teachers cheating because it's, in order to meet the standards, you have to have kids passing, but the kids weren't passing, so they just cheated and changed all the test scores. And so-
How many are there?
yeah.
Well, you have to understand, No Child Left Behind. By now, if it had been successful, every student in the country would be at grade level.
So what failed? What failed?
Well, do you think that's reasonable?
No.
Do you really think that 100% of the population is capable of being at grade level?
How was it supposed to work? How was it supposed to work?
I mean, I don't know how
It was a ridiculous concept.
I mean, that's a goal, but how are they
It
going
was
to
a
get
great
there?
goal, but how
How are
do
they
you,
going to get there? But that's a goal.
by improving education.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, paying
By
teachers
being-
more money.
No.
No, don't pay teachers more money.
Yes, pay
No,
teachers
by
more money.
improving teachers.
I said pay teachers more. She said no.
No. I mean, I'm saying they didn't do it.
Oh, I thought you were saying, because I said, you said, what thing you do? I said pay teachers
Yeah,
more money.
you can, but what he said is, how were we supposed to get from the
Yeah,
beginning
what
of
was
no-
the plan?
What was the plan? And the
Yeah.
plan didn't include paying more teachers,
Oh,
paying
well,
teachers more.
To me, everything that deals with kids or surrounds kids, because to me that's our future of our country and future of our world. We should be putting a lot of money in. Wars should
Absolutely.
not be putting money in. So the fact that we pay, trillions of dollars towards war, but like almost nothing towards education, and I think the teachers should get more money. I think that we should help the teachers be able to get more schooling. Help the teachers, to be a profession where they can have a better life, so that they can feel comfortable and be teaching. If they're trying just to live.
Yeah, if you had the best people striving to be teachers because it was one of the
Right,
highest paying jobs
right.
in America, that would make
Yes.
sense.
And then also, like I'm saying, is if
But the problem is not bad teachers.
no, I didn't say teachers
No,
are bad. No,
no.
I wasn't saying they're bad. I was just
I
saying.
mean, the problem isn't the teachers. It isn't because the teachers aren't good enough. It isn't because the teachers are good. The teachers are good. It's poverty. You have to address poverty to get the kids to be able to achieve.
But for those who say they're bad teachers and those who say they're not, there's another side of it, which is, are teachers rewarded for performance, or are they just rewarded for tenure, for seniority? Are teachers rewarded for great performance? Obviously, some are better than others. Maybe none of them are bad, but some are better than others.
It's how you define
Yeah.
performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think
High test
that
scores?
a teacher that teaches at Laurelhurst,
Yeah.
and listen, those kids teach themselves. I mean, we need schools, but they're gonna
Right.
perform no matter
It's a
who the
wealthy
teacher
district.
is. It's a
Wealthy.
wealthy district.
Parents are involved. Yeah.
Parents are involved. They get all the access. So yeah, they're gonna take the tests, and
Okay.
their kids are gonna pass. So they'll get the $10,000.
Yeah.
The teachers that teach at the high poverty schools, their kids don't.
But even at the low
So
poverty
they don't-
schools, there are some teachers better than others. Some
I know, but that's not how they reward them.
they rewarded based on how long you've been there.
No, they reward them based on how the school,
Oh, I see.
Produces as a whole.
I see.
the
I see your
school
point.
as a whole.
So
And
that's an unfair yardstick.
Yeah,
I got it. Unfair
I mean,
yardstick.
I'm not saying you shouldn't reward people,
got
but
it.
you have to measure it in a reasonable way.
I see your point, yeah. So it'd have to be a fair yardstick. It can't be based on merely like graduation rates or test scores. It'd have to be a fair yardstick to distinguish a really hardworking, top-performing teacher from a mediocre. Let's say there are no bad teachers. I don't know if there are or aren't, because I'm not in the
Well,
field. But
There's bad,
Let's
Of
say
course there
bad
are.
people.
let's say
Okay.
they're mediocre or great. Let's say they're all mediocre or great. How would we give bonuses and incentives to the great ones and not less to the mediocre ones.
Well, I was just talking about raising the thing. I was not saying they're bad teachers. I was saying that when you give someone, anybody, everyone's human. If you give someone a status of living where their well-being is reasonably assured, they actually are psychologically, like we were talking about, needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't get up to, altruism and all these other, until you take care of your base needs. So that's what I'm saying. To me, you raise the income of the teachers so they're not running on base needs. The majority of teachers are on a higher level. They're able to feel better, and then they'll be able to apply it better. When you're stressed out, you don't do as good at any job, no matter what job it is. This isn't really.
Well, most teachers make a living wage. They're certainly not paid in accordance with the
value of
the value of what they're doing, but they make a living wage.
But that's different
And-
in North Carolina compared to California, and even
But it's the fact that the students, really, the only students that we have any issue with are the low-income students. And they can't.
So what about giving bonuses to the students instead of to the teachers? What if we gave bonuses to the students for just showing up? Actually, some schools have experimented with this. Just because in high school, of course, the biggest problem is not necessarily the quality of the school. It's a lot of kids aren't there. They miss a lot of school. So they've had some schools. I know St. Louis has done this, where just showing up, just your attendance, the kid earns money. The kid earns money, which is actually an innovative idea.
Maybe that's a good idea. I don't have a solution. I don't, but I know that the teachers should be paid more. They absolutely should be paid more.
And they need more of them
But-
and more support.
Oh yes.
But the teachers are working really hard now. It's not that they're not.
Well, one of the differences.
They're good.
Right, but so I already told you. To me, it's not one approach in general. It has to be systematic change of all kinds. We should be teaching higher levels. Like I said, we should make sure the kids aren't hungry. The teachers our well-being is raised. We should make sure there's more teachers. We should our whole attitude of how we pit schools against each other, like I said, in the same town is absolutely insane. That shouldn't be. There's multiple things that need to happen. It's like a lot of schools are taking out music. To me, every school should have music.
They're taking out recess.
Taking out recess. They're taking. Like I said,
That's insane.
they don't have books. They don't have. I went to school. We didn't have pencils. We didn't have paper. Where I was in California.
Really?
Yeah, we didn't have pencils and paper. And like I said, the other people, they had everything. No, I'm not kidding.
Did you say you went to university school?
I went to a school in California. Yeah.
I thought you said university
No
school.
pencil and no papers.
We had to buy them. They were not given.
We had to buy them.
I had to
You
buy
have to
them.
buy 'em, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying that the schools, to me,
Should
be
provide that.
providing it.
Oh.
Because I'm saying to you, there was other schools where kids in that
That's
same.
socialism.
I'm for that. So, and
Instead of
I
giving
already told you I'm a libertarian socialist.
Well, regardless of whether
So-
you give the money to the parents to buy the pencil or whether you give the pencil to the kid.
No, I
we had to
think they
give a
showed.
list,
Yeah.
and then the parents are expected to go out and buy
Yes.
it. Well, not
That's-
every parent can afford to go
Right,
out and buy
right.
all
Yeah,
that stuff.
Well, I'm just saying that to me that. Well, I was just saying to you.
Even
that,
if parents don't eat, they should buy
But there is
pencil and
socialism.
paper
There's
first.
socialism for the rich kids. What I was trying to tell you is, in Irvine, the school I went to, and the school was richer, the kids got paper. In fact, they got computers. All the kids could take home and use. They also were allowed to have, like I threw out for sports, right? I was, and they said you had to buy my wrestling outfit, to buy my headgear, everything. In Irvine, the team provided it. Tell them your size, you get a suit, because they had enough money. The school did. That's what I'm saying. So it is socialism for the rich.
When I grew up
And poverty, austerity for the poor. It's disgusting to me.
When I grew up in St. Louis, the way they decided to deal with school inequality, because they knew the inner city schools were terrible and the schools in the county where I grew up were wonderful. And so the way they decided to deal with school inequality was through busing. So kids sat on a bus 2 hours a day, and I'm not sure that really was a fair solution to make the kids sit on the bus.
Yeah.
So kids from black neighborhoods went to exclusive white neighborhoods, and at that time they had reverse busing.
Are they
Kids
still
from-
doing it?
For kids from white neighborhoods, they don't do
Some
reverse
places.
busing. For kids from white neighborhoods were bused into the city, had randomly selected to be bused in the city. And so, they were doing the both sides, now they only do it one way, but the question is that really fix anything?
No.
Does that
No.
really fix
So-
No, I guess we should fix the schools themselves.
So much. It was done
Kids should go to
in
school in their
Seattle
neighborhood.
until
Yeah.
Shouldn't be bused out.
Very
No,
recently.
just
Very
you do is you put more money and more
5
support
years.
and more teachers and more stuff
Started in the 60s.
in the school itself.
Right.
I mean, and it only ended because of a Supreme Court decision. That's the only reason it ended in Seattle.
My friend Henry, who's a family physician in Edmonds, he lives in my neighborhood in Woodinville. He grew up as a Jewish kid in the Bronx, but he was forcibly bused into an all-black school. And he said there were 4 white kids and several thousand black kids, and he was he was forcibly bused. So he took all honors classes. They weren't the best. They weren't the same as honors classes he would have had, his own neighborhood school. But he took all honors classes. He went to New York Medical School. He made the best of the opportunity because he had a family that supported education. Didn't matter that he was bused to an inner city school. He had a family that supported education, and he made the best of the opportunity available to him. So again, I don't know if that's a fair
He's
comparison.
African American.
No, he's a white Jewish guy from the Bronx. Yeah.
But that throws that school off too
Yeah.
for their, whatever they're counting for their head count of those that are more educatable than those that aren't. For that person that came from another area that was bussed in forcibly, that throws off
Right.
everything, so
Right.
that each area should be, judged on their performance and made available the educational stuff they need.
Well, speaking of, we were talking about asking about atheist Republicans. When I went to the convention in Memphis recently, the American Atheist Convention, they actually did a presentation. Of course, everyone wasn't very happy about it, but they talked about that the American Atheist is going to the Republican conference and trying to recruit atheists at the Republican conference.
Interesting.
Because you could change the Republican Party from within.
That's what they said.
Not a bad idea.
Well, I hated it until I guess that's a good point.
Not a bad idea. Well, I mean, people forget, I think, the Democratic Party is not an atheist party. There
Yeah.
are many democratic ideas that are based on religious beliefs too. Maybe not as many, but there certainly are.
For instance, Hillary Clinton recently said that her favorite book, or the one book that she turns to the most, is the Bible.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
Is that right?
And that's,
I'm thinking about Elizabeth Warren now. Really.
What did she say?
But I heard some bad stuff about her too.
Yeah?
Like I just saw this on Facebook last night. That Elizabeth Warren said that it was okay for the Israelis to bomb Gaza, or something like that.
Wowzers.
Something like that.
What I've heard about what happened during that time is quite shocking.
About what time?
About, well, this last round of bombing in Gaza, just slaughtering children,
Yeah.
and destroying and sending a phone call to a hospital and saying, hey, you better evacuate. We're sending jets over. Oh, thanks.
You know,
There's no
what
point in
pisses
that.
me off most is that this country, actually Christians, siding with somebody in the Middle East and either supporting Jewish or something. Oh, we better get the hell out of there, and we shouldn't really touch those guys. And we stay in the middle of the mother slings, and we got all the muds, and no matter how we do, and I don't know why we are
it's
just.
an interesting controversy what to do about the Middle East. Do we stay out of it, or do we defend people?
I
who are
think
being
we should
victimized?
completely stay out of it.
Well,
Those guys are just
then
killing each
they've
other.
been
and
fighting
they-
for years.
If that
they'll quit
happens,
it.
Israel would be destroyed.
Who cares? What I'm saying
Well,
is that.
I mean, I care about a
The
country,
people.
in a country.
Oh yeah, I
But
do.
the reason, the
we-
reason that we're there is the oil interests, to have some influence.
You know what?
That's not why we're in Israel.
We
But
got-
we are in the Middle East, yes, but not
I think
Israel. Israel had nothing to do with oil.
Yeah, we are there for Israel.
Yeah, that's a religious thing.
Why? Yeah, religious.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah,
Protestants.
there's plenty of countries in the world that we don't give a crap about.
Do you know?
I mean, Crimea gets taken over by Russia. We don't go, ooh, let's go help them,
you
those
know
poor
we
people. You know?
export oil now.
And the Congo, when people have their hands chopped off, and we were going, let's go there and stop
But there is
that.
so much anti-Semitism. I don't believe that.
No, I'm
we,
not-
I don't
this is
believe
not
that we
anti-
support Israel because we care about the people.
The question is
No.
if there's mass,
We support it
I-
because it has to do with Jesus. I guarantee
That's
that.
right.
If
It's
it
got
had
to
nothing to do
the
with that, nobody
second
would
coming.
give a flipping
It's got
crap
to do with
about
the
it.
second coming.
well,
Yes.
if there were tremendous human rights violations in the world, what does the U.S., even if we have no economic stake, should we be going in and protecting people
I
from
don't
human
think
rights
so.
violations, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Christian, whether
I
they're
don't
Jewish,
think
whether
so.
they're, do we have an obligation to go in and help people who are being horribly mistreated or
But people are,
exterminated?
that is happening.
Yeah.
So it already is happening. So it's
But
not,
are
it's not
they
an
asking
if.
for our
And-
help?
It's not an
and-
if. I mean,
I'm
But
sorry
we
to
do
say that, but
selectively.
Selectively.
We
don't wanna-
selectively, we
Yes.
do in a very
I-
racist way.
I
Well,
don't
that's true in
wanna say-
Africa. We don't, in Africa, we rarely get involved.
Rwanda?
yeah.
Yes, yeah, good point.
They could hack people alive and we just go,
Did we
eh.
do anything in Rwanda?
No.
No, nothing.
No, but we did
No, what
something
I'm
in
saying is,
Bosnia.
what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
we are doing this thing in the Middle East to protect Israel or Jesus' second coming. It's a
I agree
religious
with you.
reason.
I totally agree. It's religious.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I think that's probably the thinking right behind it.
How
Protect
can people
Israel for
really
Jesus'
believe
sake.
that crap? I just don't understand.
Well, I mean, you look at an
I'm not
example of World
sure.
War II. Should the
Not
U.S.
sure.
have entered World War II? Germany was no threat to the U.S. Germany attacked an ally, which was
Well,
a-
Japan was their ally, and then Japan
well,
did
Japan
attack
attacked
us.
the U.S., but then
That's the only reason we're in.
But-
We went in.
But is that really why we fought against Germany?
But they did
Yeah.
didn't Germany sink 2 of our ships or something like that? So
Yeah.
they did actually, and then didn't they actually say an act of war against us? Not
I mean, there
not the other
were
way around.
many-
Declared war against us.
Right. So I mean,
There are many
so you
people
asked
this
why
time
they. I
was-
was just saying, we asked why they're there. Well, they did declare war on us. I mean,
Let's talk about the Vietnam.
yeah.
It's not too long ago, when I was a young man, and my friend volunteered in Vietnam. And looking back, I went to Vietnam about 3-4 years ago. And when they see me in the morning, they go like this. Do you mean that we bombed on these guys? These innocent people? Yeah, we bombed the hell out of them. I thought about, what if we just stay out of there? And
That's an interesting conversation.
yeah,
I saw
And,
I heard a guy
But-
speak.
it wouldn't make any damn bit of difference right now.
But I was gonna say, there's a difference between Hitler and Vietnam. Vietnam wasn't trying to take over the world. Hitler was. Same with Japan. Japan
But
was. Their goal was
he
taking
never
over.
attacked the U.S.
But he
Should
did
we have
declare
entered
war, and he also was the goal of
Japanese
taking over the world. So
attacked
the
America,
Japanese
and
attacked
they-
America, and they also wanted to take over the world. And with a coalition with, Hitler and with Italy, I mean, it wasn't like they were just saying we're only going to attack, Poland, and that's it. We're good. You know?
There are those who say, I mean, everybody knows that Neville Chamberlain tried to keep England out of the war with Germany, and that there are those who say that us staying out of the Middle East is another Neville Chamberlain, that we're letting them get more powerful, and it'll be too late. We're letting, just like we let Germany get, England let Germany get way too powerful before they finally went to war, because they didn't want war with Germany, and they realized Germany was far superior, military, air force, every other way. And people say we're letting ISIS or Iran or whoever it is, they're different organizations, get way too powerful, and we should have nipped it in the bud. This is the other point of view. There are those who say we should, by staying out, we're letting them grow and grow and grow to the point where it's going to be a much bloodier war later. I don't know if that's true.
I saw this, the guys are taking care of themselves right now. ISIS is now kind of a few cities was reoccupied by Iraqi armies. And then Yemen situation, Saudi Arabia is attacking them. And then Jordan attacking ISIS. So when you stay out of this, guys, and they've been fighting for 4,000 years each other anyway. And I think
Well-
they take care of themselves.
But there may be mass.
Israel hasn't been.
There may be
because
mass
Israel
genocide
just
of innocent
happened
people.
to- Israel's a brand new country.
1947.
Yeah.
Yeah.
largely, yes.
And what I'm saying is not
But
nothing
the
to do
racial
with the Semitism.
fighting.
It's got to do with protecting American interest. We are going in there and we get our Twin Tower get bombed, and I think we are making ourselves a bunch of enemies over
Absolutely.
the other side of the world,
That's very true.
unnecessarily.
But there are what's to do about that. There's the gentleman who's the guy who said who was in Nazi Germany, who made the famous speech, who said, when they came for the Catholics, I didn't complain because I wasn't Catholic. When they came for the Jews, I didn't complain because I wasn't Jewish.
Yeah.
Who's left? Who's left to help me? And
I think you just answered your question about us entering a war
yeah,
against Germany. What if they had defeated the UK and then,
yeah, exactly.
which would have made it much easier for them to defeat Russia?
And there are those
Then
who
we would have been by ourselves.
right, and there are those who say that if we leave the Middle East alone and let it become unified under an ISIS flag or an Iranian flag or whatever, that we're now have a much bloodier war ahead of us than if we get involved now. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't think there is a clear-cut answer.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna ever become an ISIS flag.
No.
No, I mean, they're killing musicians. They're killing people that like raise, dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like torturing, crucifying people. That kind of behavior is not conducive. The people will revolt, even if it was the people in the community.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where did ISIS
I know
get all
where
its money?
There's
This is the thing.
Probably from the CIA.
So-
some very wealthy benefactors, Saudi princes,
Saudis,
Saudi princes, and
Uh-huh.
So the answer is from us,
yeah.
yeah.
and also they got money from us.
through oil.
Those cars that
right,
suck
but
all that oil.
And also they're
I mean,
a great
they-
kidnapping
Drugs.
business. We officially don't pay for ransom, but France does. They'll pay $10 million for each French citizen that's captured by ISIS. That many countries pay ransom,
Yeah.
and that's a huge business for
Wow.
ISIS.
Key is, problem
But I mean,
is,
I don't know, they came out of nowhere for me.
key is,
And
problem
they
is,
have an incredible infrastructure.
the ISIS became really ISIS because of American people, American army, American CIA government supported them against the Syrian government.
That's right.
Yes.
What's
That's right.
that guy's name?
Assad.
Assad.
Yeah, Assad.
And the Afghan
And-
Taliban, we supported them against the Russians.
And also, we are the one supported Osama bin Laden. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
did.
did.
Yes,
We have a
Back in
history,
the,
yeah.
back in
And
the
then,
90s. back in
then
the 80s and
Hillary
90s.
Clinton
True.
destroyed the Libya. So we are the one really destroying those dictators in the name of democracy or something. Those people, whether they are on the democracy, why should we care? Why we destroy their stability? We destroy, as soon as we destroy this stability, then we are creating an anarchy.
And we're creating terrorists.
We're creating terrorists.
Yes.
And so we are doing really worse the thing over there, and we should stay out of there. Then on top of that, our boys over there and go fight,
Yeah.
and then get their limbs blown off, and then say 30,000 hurt, then 10 times more got injured, and,
That's
we
right.
have to support them rest of their lives.
Did we have a clear objective? Did we have a clear objective, and did we achieve it? I think that's the question. Yeah.
So we met around those people and their government, and we'll get into much messier situations.
Well,
Well,
that's an argument.
If you ask Dick Cheney,
Jamie, okay, that's what-
Yeah.
Those guys are liars.
the objective was to get rid of Hussein. I mean,
Okay, and we did. We
And
got
we
rid
did.
of Saddam Hussein.
So,
Okay, but
mission
now-
accomplished.
Sure, mission accomplished. But now
That's
here's
what-
what we did though.
But Frank witnessed that Israeli guys got our Abraham tank and going in there
Sorry.
and they're shooting those people, and then we give them a F-15 or whatever, I don't know what they're using, and the bomb those poor Palestinian people. Those entire Arab people, Pakistani people, and Indian people, and Bangladesh people, and the Indonesian people, everybody hates.
Well,
This-
people,
Perhaps.
Americans.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's pretty good evidence that that Iraq never had weapons of mass destruction. That was,
Oh, yeah.
that was just a myth.
That was a lie.
But is that?
Right.
Yeah,
but-
lie. I think lie is better than myth.
Lie
Are
is
we
better.
confident?
Myth sounds like it,
Yeah.
like maybe it was a
Okay.
mistake, you know. No, it's a flat out
But
lie.
whatever it was,
They knew it.
do we have the
Yeah.
same
They didn't
confidence
have
that if we stay out of the Middle East, that no weapons of mass destruction will be acquired by any of the nations, Iran,
Thank
you.
Iraq? Do we really have the confidence that if we stay out of the Middle East, that none of those rogue nations, that ISIS and Iran will never acquire weapons of mass destruction? I don't have that confidence.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah,
But Israel has the bomb.
that's true, they do.
Yes.
That's true.
You know,
They
this
do.
is the thing. Are
And
we,
they're not gonna
aren't we
advertise.
negotiating with Iran right now, nuclear talks and all that? Do you know how many nuclear arsenal in Israel? How many warheads they have?
I'm sure a few hundred.
400. No,
Sure a few hundred.
400.
400, yeah.
You go into Wikipedia and read it. We don't know exact numbers, but we give them 400 to 500. And then we are dealing with the one in
But they've never used it.
Iran. And this is a total hypocrisy.
But is it realistic, when the technology was invented in the early 40s, the nuclear bomb was invented in the early 40s, is it realistic that in 2015 you can keep it out of the hands of any industrial nation?
Eventually, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
No.
Yeah.
I know South Korea can, they don't have one, but they can develop tomorrow if they want. And
And-
Japan will.
And in fact, if you wanted to destroy Seattle, you don't even need a nuclear weapon. You take a conventional bomb and put nuclear and take radioactive material
That's
around
right.
it,
Dirty
and
bomb.
you have a dirty bomb. You don't even need a nuclear bomb. You just need a dirty bomb.
That's right.
And you, you know.
You see, what the fallout from that is not necessarily the nuclear fallout. It's the panic in the streets.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Entire economy will be destroyed.
The grid goes down, we're all lost without our devices.
Someone will post it on
Big
Facebook.
EMP
so-
will-
Don't worry.
We'll
That's why-
figure out a way to post it on
Maybe not
Facebook.
you,
Can't
but
get Facebook.
That's why
there'll be
terrorism
people
thrives.
going, look at the bomb. There goes Seattle.
That's why terrorism thrives in the world, because it works.
And they'll put it on
Because it
YouTube
actually
if it's
works.
still up.
Oh,
It's not even mentioning an EMP then.
Yeah. An EMP?
Oh,
Yeah. An EMP would take out the electric grid for,
Oh, I'll take on every
Because it
electronic,
did once.
yeah.
It happened in Hawaii.
long before
Really?
What happened?
electronics existed.
It was a long time ago, but
My Mustang
it
should
was
still be running, though.
it was basically
Your own-
what
my old
what
one.
the question was is
No
what
computers.
what is the effect of a spaceborne nuclear explosion? And there were groups of scientists that said, well, what you'd have is the nuclear explosion, then you'd have the electron the electron shower, and that would probably knock out the electrical grid down below it. And they brought that to the Pentagon, and I would have wished that somebody would have said, please don't try this out.
Please don't do this at home.
Because they did.
In Hawaii, would love.
And right down there, just about 200, about 100 or so miles above Honolulu, Hawaii, for whatever God knows reason, they blew it and they knocked out several blocks of Honolulu, street lamps, because even though it was it was in the 40s and it was older relay technology, it knocked out traffic lights and a lot of the city's power grid. They were able to get it back, with a bit of work. But yeah, okay,
Yeah.
your experiment was successful. Please don't do it again.
But you know what country has been the victim of the most nuclear weapons?
no.
United States.
The United States. We've had about 50 nuclear bombs go off in this country. That's how they were tested.
Yep.
That's how they were tested.
Well, yeah.
We had
Yeah, they
we
were-
conducted a fairly
Some of them were underground, some of them
Right.
were above ground, but we tested
Well,
huge.
people in Las Vegas used to go out and watch them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We
Was that
tested
right?
a huge number. I think it was a total of
yeah.
I can't remember, it was like 50 or something close to 50 that nuclear bombs were tested, including the original hydrogen bombs, and they tested in this country.
I think just an atom bomb was tested in Nevada, but
Trinity. Yeah.
I mean subsequent. test, our ladder test, were atom bombs. But out in the Pacific, that's where they tested the hydrogen bomb.
Yeah, and whatever nuclear material
Because
was
the
not
hydrogen bomb
spread
was
around
too
the
big,
country
yeah.
was taken to Hanford, Washington.
You know.
That's right. Whatever was contained and not spread around already was taken to Hanford.
It's so unbelievable what they did, all those above ground
Yeah.
tests
Yeah.
and all that fallout.
Yeah,
And
right here
you
in this
don't hear
country.
about it.
There were some movie actors. John Wayne is the most notable person I've heard that actually shot a film in that area. It was a Western, but what happened later is it wasn't like maybe a decade or so later, John Wayne fell from cancer. And though, yes, he was a cigarette smoker, a lot of people wonder if maybe being in
Wasn't it
that...
colon cancer though? So
I think he had colon cancer, which is
that
not-
wouldn't affect cigarettes, I would think.
not that related, yeah.
I thought he had lung cancer.
I don't know.
That was
He only had one lung, didn't he?
Oh golly, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I
he only
remember
had
that.
one lung for many, many years.
Because of, where did the other one go?
Cigarette smoking.
I think he had the other one removed for whatever
Because
reason,
of
but yeah, when he did
cancer?
all those westerns, he only had one.
True Grit, etc. Back in that period. But yeah, after
Science will make a new lung very, very soon.
They do lung transplants, I think.
I mean, I think they're going to be growing them pretty soon.
actually, it's already going on.
Yep.
They've got it.
And if global warming progresses to where, let's say, some coastal cities are flooded, and then some countries are fighting for fresh water, because if there's a rise in the sea levels, it's going to flood some coastal cities and interfere with fresh water supplies. And so then you have some limitations in fresh water supplies. You may have a water shortage worldwide, and then countries that would never think of using a nuclear weapon if they're starving for water are suddenly willing to do the unthinkable.
We have technology to do desalination though. I mean, when I was
Yeah.
living in Tampa, Florida, they were getting, I think it was like 30% or something of their water right from the ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
But is it cost effective to do that?
But if your statement would be that if there isn't any fresh water, cost effective isn't really that much of an issue.
All right.
Certainly enough, if you're willing to
I
go
see.
to war
If
for
you're willing to go to
it,
war over it, yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Then you're willing
Like
to
right now,
hire a scientist
California, I
for
think
it.
has like 40 or something that they're trying to get up and running, and of course they're going to be more expensive. But as opposed to what, not having any water?
William Shatner's.
Oh, well, they want to bring it from here.
That was William
Yeah.
Shatner's idea, which doesn't make any sense.
No, we don't have enough here.
Well, they don't care.
We have barely enough.
California doesn't care.
And they will, because we are not gonna give them, because we are thirsty here too. And
Well, there isn't enough water to support a state.
Crazier
with
things
that-
have
that's-
happened.
A state of California, the level of development it has, there isn't a water supply to support that level of development. And that's just unfortunate, that's what it is.
They gotta get rid of their swimming pools, their golf courses, Coca-Cola.
Actually, we just came back from Las Vegas, and their highway used to be like California also. About 30, 40 years ago, I see in the morning sprinkler system on that.
Ah. No more.
It's all covered with a crushed rock.
Yeah, should be.
Oh, that's good. It should be.
Yeah, I don't know.
California should not have lawns. They should outlaw them.
How did they?
Yeah.
Should be all rock and
Arizona,
sand.
New
Yeah.
Oh,
Mexico,
yeah.
Texas.
I
Is
saw
it-
it
You
in
know, it was-
Arizona. I mean,
And it still looks nice.
Nevada.
I mean,
When I was in California, many years ago, they had rules you couldn't water your lawn on certain days, but the public buildings all had.
I mean, they shouldn't even have
beautiful- all the public
lawns.
buildings
Just
had-
take them all the lawns,
I agree,
gone.
Yeah,
I lived in Santa Barbara for many years and went through many droughts.
yeah.
And in the very wealthy areas, you know, with the Texas oil millionaires,
Oh, yeah.
they, you know, well, they didn't outlaw it, they just made it expensive.
So you just pay more.
And so, you know, well, I gotta have a green lawn, you know?
So if they were willing to pay the difference to have, they're willing to pay the difference.
They didn't get, I mean, it didn't mean anything to,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's an interesting thought. Should it be, if I'm willing to pay through the nose for something like, that's bad for the environment, I mean, is it better for the environment to make it very expensive for me to pollute? So very few people afford to do it, or is it better for the environment to outlaw it and?
I say outlaw.
Outlaw.
I say outlaw.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter to
I,
what you
I
pay.
saw one casino has a very long.
Yeah.
We're in a
made
dire
of,
thing. It is, we don't have time to be playing
After
games.
Sir?
If you have money or not.
Synthetic carpet kind of thing. thing.
Yeah.
It really looks like
nice.
yeah,
I
it
feel
really
good.
looks
It's
like a
grass.
grass.
Well, I was gonna say, what I've read over and over is that, while I agree that restricting lawn watering and just getting rid of the lawns is a good idea, what I've heard though is it's literally just a drop in the bucket.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
sure
it's
it is.
almonds,
Sure it
yes.
really is.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
farmers-
actually, that's true. I heard that too. The farming industry of California is where most of the water goes, not the watering lawns, which is a very small
Which is
percentage.
where an awful lot of the money
Yeah.
will come from.
Yeah.
And I
And
just,
they're paying like 1/100th for their water that the people in the cities
Yeah.
pay. Some, I actually don't know.
Maybe that's the wrong place to
I
have
was
farms.
just visiting a friend who lives in the farming area near San Joaquin Valley, and she works for the fruit growers, and the big farm, not the little farmers, but the agribusinesses, they're just drilling wells next to the little farmers, and
Taking
all
their
of a
water.
sudden, the little farmer has no more water.
Yep,
Okay, that makes
that's
sense.
just wrong. That is
And the
just
water
wrong.
table's dropping.
Yep.
Because
But they could do something about surface water
Collection.
They
redirection
do,
too.
they do that, but it's not a clear-cut thing. They are doing that.
Fascinating.
But
Yeah, there's no
the
regulation on drilling.
groundwater you need to have enough water going in to replenish the groundwater. So you can't
Aquifers.
just,
Maybe that's just the wrong place to have farms. I don't know.
Well, that's one
In
of
the
the
desert,
questions.
Yeah.
maybe, that's
Yes.
the wrong
Yes.
place to have a farm? Duh.
They have them. I've seen. I was
Wow.
doing the trucking. I was surprised when they sent me to pick up lettuce in Arizona, in the south of Phoenix. I'm like, lettuce. It seems like, and they're out there watering, and I'm just like, this is like surreal to me.
Of course.
yeah, but the San Joaquin Valley provides so much of the food for the country.
Yeah.
I mean, we really need California to survive.
Why don't we just give it to Mexico?
I am from California, and I understand how snobby and, holier than thou Californians are. But
And that,
we need California to,
and with all that, there's still people who are in denial of climate change.
I've been reading several things recently about people who are changing their mindset to more like the Native Americans, where they're trying to live that what they do today, how is that going to impact 7 generations down the line? And I think
Did they
if we all
know?
had that kind of,
We should
Yeah,
just.
did they know?
well, it's
Our
something to
native
think
people
about.
didn't know.
No, it's something to think about.
But here's the article that Jerry, about climate change, thing about climate change. You
Population
passed out an article at one of the meetings like 3-4 years ago that had a profound effect on me. That it was from one of the atheist organizations nationally, and it said the number one thing that we need to do to combat climate change, nobody's willing to do, and that is control overpopulation. Control population. growth.
Hello.
And that,
Yeah.
Mention that, though.
that the birth rate now, that in fact, if we do everything that everyone ever proposed to protect against climate change, but the birth rate continues to grow as it's projected to grow, but if we do everything that we could do in terms of greenhouse gases
That's the
and,
answer.
and if we do everything we could do, but the birth rate continues to grow, we've lost.
Yeah.
We've already lost.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
just
the
saying
world
that it
can't-
is, that's the.
Because by the time
gorilla.
2050 occurs, I don't know how many billion there'll be, 7.5 billion, 8 billion, whatever it is. We've already lost, even if we do everything proposed to address climate change. It's population growth that has to be addressed.
how
And
do we
nobody
do
is
that?
willing to do that because it's considered, first of all,
I'm willing.
it can-
I only had one
It combats
kid.
religion.
No, but I mean,
You know,
it's not a problem in this country. It's,
Well, yeah, worldwide. It's worldwide.
it's,
yeah.
ro- it's.
But it
it's-
is the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
But
don't. I think that's a myth. I think it's a myth. There's overpopulation.
Wow.
Yeah, you
No.
can look it up. There's a document on the
Tell me
population of the
your
world.
thoughts.
I don't have the link with it right in a second, but I argue with the guy in California
Do
about
we have
that.
enough food and water to support 7 billion people?
Well, he's saying
it's.
are there really 7 billion people?
Well, no, I'm not saying
Saying
that.
that.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that it is a lie, or it is a falsehood, or a fallacy to believe that we cannot produce for our own amount of people. It is
You
improper
mean us meaning
usage.
US or us meaning
The whole world. It's
The world.
improper uses of resources.
Okay.
It is not lack of resources. The earth will not die if there's an extra, 7 billion people. The earth will not all of a sudden just die. It will not lack anything. We are improperly utilizing resources. We're using non-renewable resources. It is really about how we're behaving more than it's like a child that's
So for
behaving
example,
wrong.
we give so much of our food and water to cows, so that we can eat the cows. There's an argument that.
Well, yeah, it's true, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that even we could grow things on top of this roof. We could just utilize the space.
Okay.
We should have more green technology. There's thermal heating. There's wind technology. There's more solar. There should be solar on every house. They also can make a thing where you can make electricity walking down the street. They have that new technology. The guy built a road to build our roads where they're platelets, and they build electricity and their solar as we drive on all of our highways. I mean, there's a lot. So it's really
A lot we could do without changing population growth.
population will be twice as much
Okay.
as it is.
Right.
Our technology has to go to the level of our well-being. We need to be doing stuff. There's fish that are renewable. We usually go after things that are not renewable, that are not.
Are we overfishing the oceans already, at least for certain populations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our behavior.
Polluting.
And polluting.
Enough
Yeah.
water into the ocean now, and mercury to tuna fish and all that.
Right, behavior.
We got already enough people to ruin this world.
And
Well,
I read a
but-
book about that we waste about 50% of our food.
Well, I was gonna say, we consume way more than our fair share of the world's resources.
You mean the United States?
Yes.
Well, you just saw that one guy in Japan made meat out of crap. Another one, I think it was England or somewhere, made cheese out of toe fungus. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
What did he make meat out of?
Yeah.
What did he make meat out of?
Crap.
Like,
He actually
Out of
made it out of
food-
fecal matter, human waste.
Interesting.
I'm not saying I want to
There's
eat it.
a
I'm just
number-
making the
yeah, a
statement
number of different
that
ways
there's
of doing that.
there really is the technology is there. We're just not
Maybe we all eat
utilizing
krill.
it.
Maybe we all eat krill like
Yeah, I
like
mean-
whales. Yeah.
Some
Well, and the
times-
astronauts recycle their pee.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what
so it's-
green is
For
people?
water. For water. Not food.
They're toe fungus.
Actually,
That's right.
some
Yeah,
schools have compostable
soil yellow is
toilets now.
total.
I don't
That's
think
why I
they-
like the
I'm not saying it was good, but I'm just saying that.
That's why I like the
They use
tiny
it for
house
gray water?
movement, because a lot of that stuff now, you're living in abodes that are more suitable for the size of your family. You don't need these
Right.
whopping big homes.
Yeah.
that-
The McMansion.
Yeah, and a lot of those are able to live off grid.
So you're saying maybe population growth is not the target?
No, I
behavior.
think the way that we live is.
Yes,
It's like,
I agree.
You know,
Behavior.
if you've ever watched Tiny Home Nation, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, watch it.
Okay,
It's on
Tiny Home Nation,
FYI.
okay.
And they take flatbed trailers and they build houses on them. And they can only go 13 and a half feet high and 8.5 feet wide. They utilize every inch in that. Usually the things that are in there utilize more than one purpose. But you've got families of 4 that are living in a space that
Rather than
size.
living in high-rise buildings.
Yeah,
they're
or
living
even in a
individual
big
homes,
sprawling
Individual
house.
homes that are very small.
Yeah, and the heating costs are so much less in one of those. You can have a small heater, gas heater that heats the whole
So if someone
place.
has the money, should they be allowed to have a 20,000 square foot home or not allowed?
That's up to them, but,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what I'm saying is for those that want to conserve, why not have more
Keep changing.
communities that are available like that?
Okay.
And
Or-
for your personal happiness, less stuff
Well, that,
increases.
mortgage, you think of the amount we all spend on mortgage or rent or whatever that goes out, the average is probably $1,500 a month.
But part of the reason that I'm able to afford such a big mortgage is because it's deductible. Should mortgages be deductible?
And that's.
How
so
is your
unfair for
mortgage
people who
deductible?
rent.
What's that?
Oh, the interest
The
on
interest.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
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 personal.
The
yeah.
interest.
But if
But in
you're,
Canada, it's not. Here it is.
but you can buy an already built, or you can have one built, tiny home, built to your specifications, and you can spend no more than like $40,000 on this, and it's paid for.
Right. Interesting.
And
Yeah, but you
you
need a
have no
land.
big
You need a
mortgage.
$100,000 land.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, it
necessarily.
depends.
But
What do you
But
mean, where you get the land with the
does factor
sewer
into
and the
the
water?
equation.
It depends if you want to be off-grid or not.
But is our
It depends on
vision,
where
the
you
urban
go.
centers
Sure,
having
have
better affordable housing, or is our vision all these little
You don't
tiny
need much
homes?
space.
I
Scarcity
don't
county.
know,
You
yeah.
don't need much
There
space for
are,
a
if
little
you go
house.
up to Index,
Zoning will not
Index
prevent
has a
you.
lot
And
of the
then-
smaller
That could be
homes
changed.
up there.
Okay.
And I want to go up and take a real good look one day, because I spoke to somebody who has a house along
You're at
Highway 2 there.
$500,000.
And she said, if you're looking for something like that, they're up in Index.
One thing I noticed is like, well, I was born in the 50s, okay?
Too.
And the neighborhood that I was born in the 50s, my mom moved back to that neighborhood a few years ago in St. Louis. And so what's interesting is that neighborhood in the 50s and early 60s was a middle-class neighborhood. It was not considered, a wealthy place for wealthy people. It was a very middle-class neighborhood. And the people who lived there, my dad moved in there when he was 27 or 28, newly married. The people who moved in there, they had usually one of the two working. A lot of times the wives did not work, it was just the husband working. Many of those husbands made middle-class incomes as school teachers or postal workers or,
Air traffic controllers.
it was not considered, like for wealthy people. Now you go back to the neighborhood today, 60 years later, and because of the location, it's a very desirable place. The houses are the same. In fact, they're older. They're falling apart. The houses are exactly the same, but now it's the most desirable place to be because it's location. And you have couples moving in there who are older, like 35, but they both work. They're both making $70,000, $80,000 a year, and they can barely afford the home.
Yeah.
And so my question is, and the difference is, well, maybe now the home has the internet, it didn't have it before. But beyond that, it's the same home, and maybe it has cable TV it didn't have before. But the point is, has our standard of living gone up or gone down? Have we really?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Mine has gone up.
Okay.
Although I grew up on Capitol Hill, we had this massive house with leaded glass and stained glass and a servant's stairway, and we were kind of poor, because my parents bought that house for like $17,000.
Wow.
It's a big,
Yeah.
massive,
Kind of like
1960, mid-60s, right across from Volunteer Park. How much is that house worth now?
Right.
Hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Millions.
Close.
But it's the same home.
It's
it's
the
the same
exact
home.
same house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I look back at my parents who built a house, I was in the district going to the old house, but original plan was they were going to tear down the old part, but they ended up keeping it. It's not important, but I don't know, I think they had a 30-year mortgage, but they were only making $200 per month payments on it.
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
Yep.
I pay more on my credit
But interest rates are
cards.
lower today than they were then, probably. But it's a question. The question is the value of the home.
Yeah, well, that was just the thing, as I, combined, my rent is $1,800 a month.
That's why I don't
Yeah.
worry about national debt, because,
But
I don't worry about national debt, because,
Your own debt, right?
because that house, when
Too
your
preoccupied.
parents lived in there, and probably 10,000, 30,000, let me guess it, just 10,000.
I think it was I think it was 20 or 30,000.
Yeah, it's $30,000.
Yeah.
Now it's say now it's 700,000 or $1 million. And our national debt is the same thing. When time goes by, and just inflation just takes care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's still
Yeah.
better to have no debt, though. Still better to have no debt than,
That's the economics thing I don't understand.
There are many nations that don't do it.
Why are we always borrowing money from these people and loaning
Well, we
it
are,
to
like
these people?
a huge
I
percentage
don't
of
have
our...
any debt.
A huge percentage of our tax revenue goes to pay interest on the debt. A huge percentage, we have 17 trillion in debt as a country, and a huge
Yeah.
percentage of our tax revenue goes to pay interest on the debt rather than paying for roads and
About a
buildings and
third
infrastructure. Yeah.
of our national.
So I think it is a
of our
problem.
China
Federal
owns
budget
us.
just goes to pay.
Yeah, but what's funny about
Just
China
pay
is
interest on the debt.
we're a
Yeah.
democracy and
Yeah.
we're taking money or we owe money to a socialist.
It'd be better.
That makes no sense.
I do think it'd be
Right?
better to have no debt.
Right.
I do think it'd be
Yeah,
better.
socialism doesn't work. That's why we're borrowing money from them.
Because we're paying,
Yeah.
instead of spending money on the interest on the debt, we give some money on roads and infrastructure and buildings and social programs or anything we want. You know?
Why
stuck
can't
in that
governments
bill.
balance their budget like we are all expected to do?
You know what?
They're
Oh,
not
but
expected.
we're
to.
not-
the time when we
Why
were able
not?
to,
There's no punishment.
when we actually ran a surplus, what did they do? Instead of
Spend
paying-
it.
Yeah, instead of paying down the debt, they gave out tax refunds instead to the rich.
Yeah, we didn't have a
Extra money.
surplus, we had a surplus in the budget, not a surplus in the actual, we still had debt, but we had a surplus in the actual.
Oh,
budget.
that's what I meant, we had a
Yeah.
surplus for the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah,
And instead of putting that surplus towards paying down the debt,
yes.
we turned around and gave that money to the rich instead through tax cuts.
Apparently, I don't know about this
Clinton's, when we were in
economy
That was
thing,
Bush who did that.
but apparently rolling money is more important things than debts and stuff like
The
that.
velocity of money.
Yeah. So, national
You mean it moving
economy.
around?
Yeah.
Well, that's why they often
Yeah,
rate the
money,
debt
money
in terms
speed
of
they call.
percent of
They
the,
call it the velocity of money, yeah.
Yeah, velocity of, velocity of money,
that's why they always
money
rate the
velocity,
debt
whatever.
in terms of a percent of the GDP. So we're actually about the same as I mean, that has held steady though for many years.
Oh, huh.
So in that sense, the debt isn't really that bad, but
But yet
But
we
it's gonna
still,
keep going up
even though we have
to
17 trillion in debt, we still give aid, billions of aid to other
No,
countries,
That's so weird.
Yeah.
What about,
Ridiculous.
We spend,
understand it.
We pay
spend
more for
many
Israeli
trillions
military than they
dollars.
do.
Yeah.
George Bush has
and many
spent
other
many
countries.
trillion
Stupid.
dollars to the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a war that doesn't need to be.
We've armed most of our enemies. I mean, we've,
That's
And
right.
We still aren't.
the CIA's trained them all, right?
Yeah.
This is probably getting their weapons from us.
Well,
And yet we can't give money to our own poor people and our own kids in school.
I know, it's so
what we
screwed
do
up.
instead is we go into countries like Iraq, knock down their infrastructure, take their, in as much as no, Saddam Hussein wasn't the nicest guy in the world, but at least previous to the US invasion, the hospitals in Iraq were like landmark. They were
Stable.
stable. After we came in, knocked out their government, knocked out their infrastructure, and then said, "Oh, you're a democracy."
Bullshit.
Right. So then,
but you know what the other side says, what, we should have stayed. We should have kept the contingent force there and stayed.
Right,
That's what
that
they said.
everything would be fine, that's
That
what
they
James
said
was
we
saying.
just kept
Left
it-
too
Oh,
soon.
come.
They say if we just left a force there of
There's
30
no
or
end to
50,000
it.
troops and
We
stayed.
don't speak the language, and our poor boys going
I'm not
out in
saying
the
it's a good
villages,
idea.
and we don't know which one is a foe, which one is our friends, and they got their limbs blown off, and oh gosh, you guys had enough experience with the Vietnam. I don't know why you guys are doing the same thing.
Well, Vietnam, we lost the war.
This was the same thing.
Same thing.
We lost it. Same thing.
Because the U.S. tends to fight a war by, whether they should go or not, they tend to fight a war with limited engagement. Just enough to keep it going, but not enough to actually win. So my attitude is, if you're not there to win, don't go at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, it's like, if it's important enough to go there, for whatever the, if it's important enough to go there, you win and get out quickly. You don't go there
You
to,
don't get in somebody else's civil war.
Well, and you can't ram democracy down the throats of people who are coming from a totally different place. That just
Exactly.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right, but don't we have a republic, not democracy anyways?
Exactly.
So, I mean,
Do we even
and
have
now
a
we actually have an
republic?
oligarchy.
our branch of
Yeah.
democracy is very different from other countries that allegedly are democratic, like England and
Right.
Israel. And other countries that are democratic have very different governments.
Right, because we're an oligarchy,
Yeah.
the wealthy elites, and then we're
Well, I think
trying to
the-
make that more happen.
I think the problem is that you could argue that our lobbyists really rule, rather than you could say that lobbyists have too much power in this country, rather than
Right, and who's controlling the lobbyists? They're not,
Yeah.
they're not like a volunteer organization.
it's government by the paycheck.
and
Right.
people- and if you're in office, if you were elected today, you have to start running for re-election before you can start serving.
I know, so you're busy running for election instead of
Yeah.
doing your job.
You can't do your job because if you're let's say Congress, you're gonna have to run for re-election 2 years, which means you get nothing done. So if you start pissing people off, which you probably need to do a good job,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get re-elected in 2 years. So I
I
mean,
think one of you guys run for the office as an atheist.
there are atheist candidates. They rarely win. As of what I heard, data I heard like 2 years ago, it may be out of date now. Out of all those in Congress, including the Senate and the House, of all those in Congress, one person is an admitted atheist.
I heard that too.
One person is an admitted atheist. Now we suspect because we know
I
that
met him.
that there's like 20% of Americans are admitted atheists, and for upper educated people, it's higher than
higher.
that. So we would know that more than one member of Congress is an atheist, but only one is
Just
an
not
admitted
speaking
atheist.
It's actually admitting it.
Yeah,
Public.
only one was an admitted atheist. It was someone from New Hampshire or somewhere in that northeast.
I think I
Yeah.
met him.
I think everyone
He came over here.
These guys that hold
Really?
office forever, they need to put a cap on that. Get them out of there, get some new blood in there.
Really.
Well, we have limit, we have senators for 6 years, we have president, we only allowed to serve 8 years now. Used to be longer, but now, so the Congress only 2 years, but we have congressmen that have been there 20 years. Including the guy from Seattle.
True.
Including the guy from Seattle, Jim McDermott, who's been there, how long?
Forever.
Yeah, more than
Is
20.
But we liked him because he kept Boeing.
What's that?
Is he an atheist?
He probably is, but he won't admit it. I've met him, Jim McDermott. He probably is an atheist, but he won't admit it. The reason I know he's an atheist, because he's a psychiatrist. I'm also a psychiatrist, and most psychiatrists are atheists. and I've met him at a Washington State psychiatric meeting, Jim McDermott.
That's interesting.
I would be there are hardly any psychiatrists that believe in God, but he's not an admitted atheist. He's because he knows he wouldn't get reelected. So is Jim
Pete
McDermott an
Stark.
atheist?
But
That's
some
what
of them,
Yeah. He's not in Congress
I
anymore.
went to, like I said, I psychology degree too, and I've been around psychologists. Some of them, I agree that they're not. I would say they're probably not
No, actually, I
Christian.
said psychiatrist.
They're probably not Christian, but they're probably not Christian.
Right.
But it doesn't mean they're not Buddhist,
No, you may be right.
or that they're
You're
not,
right.
spiritual and
Spiritual.
non-religious.
But ask Jerry, is Jim McDermott, the congressman from Seattle, is he an atheist?
I suspect he is.
I suspect he is, but he's not an admitted.
What about
No one
Obama?
is, no one in Congress will,
Obama's
he's come
a
out.
There's one
I think
that
Obama's
used
a
to,
Christian.
is he still, there was one
No, he
admitted
is.
atheist,
Yes,
is
he
he still
is.
there?
He's gone.
Church
gone.
spouts
A lot
the
of people,
Bible.
Yeah.
a lot of people
down.
intentionally pretended to be Christians, but they are
You're right.
not.
My family went to church
Yeah.
when I was a kid because it was the social thing to do. That's what you did.
Yeah,
But
that's
they
what-
never believed in
Yeah,
God or
but
Jesus.
the intelligent guy like Obama, he probably had a different idea. He just went there for political purposes.
That could be.
Well,
I say
but
that-
Like Martin Luther King, and I don't think he was.
my dad grew up in an era, atheists meant communists. If you're an atheist, you might as well say you're a communist.
Yeah.
Well, godless communism.
Yeah, yeah. And the reality is that there's many communist countries that are religious, right?
Yeah.
Well, and there are many of us
But
who
not
are
Russia.
paranormal researchers who believe in the afterlife as far as
Yeah.
spirits walking the earth.
Are you a paranormal researcher?
I am.
I'd love to hear more about that sometime.
And, but yet, I don't believe that there's an almighty deity. I believe there's another plane that houses our people and everything.
So then the question would be, is that a religion, or is it just a science?
We're learning to do it more as a science. I've seen too much to discount it.
Have you seen we just went, a few of us went, Jerry and a few of us went to see the film An Honest Liar, The Life of James Randi. Have you ever
Oh,
seen
really?
it?
I haven't seen
It's
it.
called An Honest Liar. It's the life of James Randi, who was a skeptic of paranormal phenomena. But I think he does both sides of service, because what he's saying is, let's suppose there is a legitimate paranormal phenomenon. Let's just assume that maybe there isn't, but let's assume there is. Getting rid of all the fakes is the only way you're going to ever shine a light on the real one. Getting rid of all the fakes and charlatans and those who are out there to scam people. The only way you're ever going to notice the real one is to get rid of the fakes. So he does both sides of service as far as I'm concerned. But he would debunk like Uri Geller.
Oh, yeah, and like when we go into a place to investigate, we have to go in with an open mind. But when you take your gear in, and there's absolutely no doubt that something is making this gear function besides what you can determine.
What gear detects paranormal?
We have what they call EMF detectors, which is electromagnetic.
The EMF detector,
Reminds me of the movie Ghostbusters.
yeah. The
A lot
EMF
different.
detector actually registers in the range of power line phenomenon.
Oh, okay.
It was
Yeah, you can hold it up to-
it was initially built when it was discovered that that proximity to electrical power lines
Might cause cancer in kids.
may cause cancer.
Yeah.
So people
Yeah.
built and bought EMF detectors, but they also found that you could get hits off of it if you were in a darkened room and believed that you were talking to a spirit. Which is fine, but my question is, you have an awful lot of sources of that kind of phenomenon. By the by, I'm the secretary for the group, so I keep all
What's
the
the name of the
notes in the
group?
minutes.
What's
It's
Um,
Paranormal Scientific Investigations Northwest, PSI Northwest.
Sadly, I didn't bring any business cards.
I think I might have some.
One question I've always wondered, even though I'm skeptical of this phenomenon, one question I've always wanted to ask of people who study paranormal, if you detected a paranormal, let's say, spirit or Why would you assume it's someone who was once alive rather than some entity that's always been in that plane?
And that's a capital question.
It is, but it goes along using digital recorders.
Okay,
You can ask questions, leave time for a response.
Okay.
Many times when you go back to listen to that recording,
okay.
you will hear an answer to your question that you did not hear with your own ears. And I can't tell you the number of times I've heard those.
All right.
So that's one of the
But
reasons.
assuming it's a
why-
real phenomenon, how do we know it's not someone who's always been in this other plane rather than someone who's once human and now deceased? Why would we assume that?
You,
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily, you
Yeah.
would do it through questions. We did the old Tacoma High School, what is it called, the one that's 100 years old, has the big bowl for the.
Oh, wowzers. I
Stadium High School.
Stadium,
Best.
yeah.
Best.
And we went in there, and one of the gals knew the staff there, and they let us come in on an off day.
Fascinating.
And we went down into the sub-basement, which they utilize all 5 floors in that thing. It's huge, and it looks like a big castle. But we went down in the sub-basement, all very well lit, and there was an old 100-year-old, in some odd years, roll-top desk sitting down there that had been down there since the school was built. And so there was a group of us that were sitting down there, and we decided to do what they call an ABP session. It's where you ask questions and
Right.
you see if you get a response.
What do you record? What do you record on?
Digital recorders.
Digital
Yeah.
recorders.
But it can be done on a
And
tape recorder.
cameras and whatever we happen to have with us. But we were asking questions about who was there. And it turned out that the guy that was the custodian there, every morning he would make his rounds, and he had a way that he did everything. Well, he would go, for about 2 weeks prior to this, he would go to the elevator door would open without him pushing any buttons, take him to the exact floor he wanted to go to, and let him out. Then when he came back, it would open up, take him back down to the floor he wanted to go to. He didn't have to push any buttons. It knew where he wanted to go. It's a 100-year-old building. And so we were down there and we started asking, are you the entity that likes Bob? And just lit up our little meters that we had. And we got out of it by way of questioning that it had been a teacher there 30 years prior teaching math.
Did you ever look up to see if there was a person that?
We didn't have access to the records. We were going to see if there was somebody that could give us that information there, but that would have been interesting to know. Don't know the sex, didn't get that far, but we did find out that it was math teacher and
Now-
had been there 30 years prior.
To be absolutely accurate, though, you were doing this against not a recorder,
The lights on the K2.
on the K2 meter.
I might interrupt.
Peggy.
I got it going, but this would be interesting to do as maybe a presentation for maybe next time.
Okay.
By the way, I'm a skeptic, so,
As mine.
Maybe the skeptics group would love to hear this
well,
presentation.
that too, but.
The Seattle
they can't-
skeptics would love to hear this presentation. 'cause
Oh, I was
they-
gonna suggest that.
So,
do this.
So I'm not a skeptic. I'm a rationalist. I use methodological skepticism, and I don't believe that stuff for a minute. And I believe that it's completely and utterly false. And in fact, they've had scientists prove in Sweden that they could actually invent ghost experiences, both auditory,
Yes.
seeing, and physical touch in all of the person's heads, with the fact that the dark and the fear and inducing things. I used to when I first became an atheist, believe that I thought there could be ghost stuff. I think it's all completely and utterly false. And I think that we, in our own minds, have the ability to, believe stuff. Also, I think that there's seeding the water. Like you're talking about ghost investigations. Those ones on TV.
Those are crap.
Well, they're false. Well, to me,
They're obviously crap.
And I've gone actually to. And I was in Savannah. I went to a supposed haunted house, and they're like, don't make them mad. I told them to go fuck themselves. I told them, all this stuff. When you eat shit and die, and
What about that girl on the TV show that he's talking to?
false.
what was
That's
it,
the.
the
Amy
dead
Allen.
person and
So there's no legitimate
Allen.
science that accepts the claims.
Well, I think the question that
You've
interesting
probably
would
heard
be,
this all before.
how would one design an experiment? Let's say that you're.
But that's the thing they
skeptical.
have. They
Let's say
have-
you're skeptical, but want to be open-minded, how would one design an experiment?
Like I said, I'm not skeptical. I am
Yeah.
rationalist. I will not
Okay,
believe
well,
anything
whatever
not
word you use.
proven to me
Yeah,
to
forget
deserve
the word
doubt.
skeptical. How would we
Yeah,
design
my-
an experiment
so-
that would actually determine?
So again, I've
James
got you
Randi
going,
does
but
that.
Yeah.
and this is unfortunate, but obviously not enough time to
Yeah.
delve into it. But how about we,
Next,
I'd love that.
we
Yeah.
dedicate next
let's
time
shoot some
to this,
emails
love-
back
I'd
and
love to hear
forth.
more.
And
Yeah.
we want
Maybe
to
we can plan this thing.
write up a little thing.
Because I might even be able to get some of my group to come too, and they, we actually have one of the gals that.
Would you be interested?
She
Well,
said
I
she's
can bring
like a
stuff.
psychic,
You
but it's
asked me
not
that.
like she
You would-
can.
Would you be interested if they
have
had a
premonitions or
presentation
anything
next
like
That's
time?
fine. I mean, as long as I can say, bring my stuff and say what I think.
Yes.
I mean, I'll come. If not, then you
Or
know.
Jody, I think.
I'm not going to be indoctrinated. If that's what you're asking.
Bye-bye, everybody.
I'm not interested in that. I mean, people can think what they want, but I mean, I wouldn't go to church either. For me,
Well, yeah,
so
I
I mean, if I can't present stuff too, or voice my opinion, then I wouldn't, be interested as you asked. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you could, the mind is a, like you always say, the mind is
An organ of the human body.
and you can.
So
make it believe anything
this
you
goes
want.
back to several things though. Are the souls reincarnated? If they're reincarnated, why that brings all kinds of other issues with that.
Why don't I have any memory of?
Yeah,
Why
well,
don't I
and-
have
and-
memory of, yeah, like that kind of crap.
Yeah, so there's several different things.
I never understand when
I
they
could
say
bring
they
up a whole bunch of stuff because
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I'm
actually one of my books. This relates to because I'm gonna lambast everything spiritual. I have one book that's gonna be called Secular Supernaturalism, and basically what I'm gonna say is there is no supernatural. It is all secular. So
Cool.
So I mean, that's further down. Not my book now is The Tree of Lives and Its Hidden Roots. I do talk about psychics in there, and I say that I have about 5 books on psychics because I'm very interested in debunking it.
Sure.
Well, see, that's what we do when we go in. We look for the obvious stuff,
Thank you for.
like high electrical emissions that would cause somebody to
Excellent. I'm glad you
be in a
were able to
fear
join us.
cage,
Vicky,
because you
good to
can
see
live in an area where the electrical readings are so high that it will put fear, you'll feel like somebody's watching you, all of that stuff.
Then went to
And
Washington,
that's stuff that we look for with the scientific.
But that's not.
Well, I don't think- I think-
that's
I
not-
think-
But the thing is though, that's not spiritual. That is
That's
basically
electrical.
your
I don't know.
that is basically the environment
Definitely
affecting
part of
you
it was-
on a
But
physical level.
even your
That's what
professional
poor parenting
ghost hunters
on our
will
part.
tell you, if you mix
Maybe,
limestone and water together,
The
like a house that's sitting, built on limestone and there's an underground spring, you're going to get activity, whether it's real or not.
But it's-
So,
so-
if I might, just, again, I want to say, if you want to email me or email me on the site,
How old is he? When did
maybe
he, well,
like
I
with
shouldn't
a
say
a
that.
description of what you'd
28,
like to present.
Okay.
Sure.
And you're welcome to do that next time.
Sure.
That would be great. Yeah, next time.
Just understand
a little
that
bit older than
you'll be
my
met with a lot of
children.
skepticism.
Oh, yeah,
I
I love it.
I'm a rationalist, like I
You're
said.
okay with that, but
I love the discussion.
She
Okay, no, I don't have any problem. I think science should test all ideas.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So I'm not saying that I'm against people investigating. I'm just saying this is like this. The people that investigate Bigfoot tell me they believe in Bigfoot. The people that investigate ghosts tell me they believe in ghosts. The people that investigate is Jesus real seem to believe Jesus is real. The funny thing I find with all of these things is they start with, to me, a priori belief that what they're finding is going to be found. So it's easy to find when you already have seeded the water that there's a pre-existing belief. Like I said, I start with rationalism. I'm not a skeptic. I notice, to me, what a skeptic does is they say, I'm reserving an opinion. Well, I start with reality is the only thing I'll accept as real. You need to prove me that reality cannot be real to allow you to put your non-real in there.
Who knows how long.
So, like if you said the planet Pluto is in your pocket, I won't reserve doubt. I know it's not there. I won't even have to.
you guys can discuss, or save some for next time.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry.
We'll
Oh, I'm gonna write a book on it. So like I said.
It's great meeting you too.
All right. Well,
Yeah, just,
still good meeting you.
okay.
And bye.
And bye.